All right, everybody, welcome back to Movie Hell. This time, I, Ryan, and Joe will be discussing a movie that you've probably seen memes of, but I didn't really know anything about. It is Guns Akimbo, starring Daniel Radcliffe, who has such a great American accent, I didn't actually recognize his voice at first. It took maybe
Agreed.
2 lines before I was like, wait, is that him?
Yeah, there's a narration that's done, and he's talking about, in the first person kind of thing. This is my life, and this is what's going on. And I looked up in IMDb. I'm like, who's narrating this? Because it does not sound like
Harry
uh,
Potter.
Harry Potter. I will say that from what I've been able to tell, I haven't watched a lot, but from the projects I know he's done since he played in those movies, I like this kid.
Yeah, he's really good. I knew he was good because I saw those movies. I was kind of at the perfect age where I'd read the books as a kid and the movies came out and they kind of aged with me.
Got
If
ya?
that makes
Sure.
sense. Like the first few were really innocent, kind of wholesome, a little bit too much so for me, but so maybe I was slightly sort of ahead in terms of that age curve. But yeah, I knew that he was talented from that, but he's done some really different stuff.
Hmm.
There's Swiss Army Man. He was in, I think, Lady in Black,
I
a
saw
horror
that
movie.
one. That was one I saw,
Yeah, and he's
which
done
was
like
interesting.
weird Broadway stuff where he's been naked on stage. Like he basically didn't want to get typecast as like the sci-fi fantasy guy, so he just did everything he possibly could. Kind of like Bob Saget
Oh
did a
yeah,
lot of weird stuff to try to like shake Full House.
I didn't realize. I grew up with Full House. I remember it as a kid growing up, and then I found out that Bob Saget does stand up, and I'm like, really? He's doing stand up? What kind of stand up? And then I listened to some of his stand up and was like, whoa,
Yeah.
what the heck, Mister Clean? How? What? Huh? I wasn't expecting it. All right. Speaking of what you just said with him, apparently, and I didn't know this. He's Daniel Radcliffe, having done naked stuff on stage. In this movie, did we see his penis?
I don't know if it was his. It looked like the one I chose in Cyberpunk 2077 because it was kind of flying all over the place, but we definitely saw one.
I'm
And
pretty
I
sure it was
actually
a rubber prosthetic because I had to rewind and be like, "Whoa, wait, hold on a second. Did I
I
did?"
did yeah, I did too. That would be an interesting like this was on Prime, right? This would be an interesting
Yes.
Amazon analytic to see how many times was that particular scene rewound. And
Okay,
does it
that's fair.
vary by age or gender or anything else? Or was everybody universally like, "Wait, what?" And he's
Yeah,
like,
and that
doesn't
that
matter. Just don't
scene
shoot
in and of
yourself in the
itself was great. Just
Yeah.
that him trying to deal with that. All right, so for those who don't know what this movie's about, it's something in, like you said, memes about it. I remember seeing the memes, just the pictures before there were even memes with it. Just the pictures of him holding guns, wearing a bathrobe and big fuzzy slippers with this crazy look on his face, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like I had no idea,
Mhm.
and I'm pretty sure there was some production or some issues with this where it didn't come out when it was supposed to originally,
Mm.
and so it ended up being released later for whatever reason. It I've been wanting to see this for a while. I saw it as a movie that popped up, and I'm like, oh, that was something that we could watch, and so I suggested it after the last movie that we saw. I It was from the opening scene, the car chase in the very beginning that shows you the idea of the basis of this movie is there's a group. It's called Schism, and they pit two individuals against each other in a death match.
Yeah,
And
it's almost like the movie Gamer, where they have real life. I mean, where that it's your gaming controlling a person, but it's a
mhm,
real life fight to the death. This one's kind of a gladiator type deal.
yeah, and so that's kind of just the premise of this. That this is the quote unquote evil organization that's doing this. The people of the internet, because you know how people of the internet are eating it up and just loving it.
Hmm.
Because I mean, it's just like a modern, like you said, a modern day gladiatorial thing. And when you watch the movie Gladiator and everybody's going nuts over the killing and the violence, well, that's unfortunately kind of how people are. They're not disgusted by it. They're not, it's not abhorrent to them. They're
Well,
absolutely eating it up.
even if they are, they're still going to watch it.
Hmm?
Yeah, I like that it didn't take itself seriously. I was worried about it when that first started. Like, how serious will this be? And then I saw that the main girl, Nyx,
Hmm.
like the sort of the heavy, I guess, for the
Yeah.
movie, she was wearing her hood down anime style, like completely, not just over her eyes, like where there's no way you can see, like almost down over her face completely. And it was like, okay, just from this shot, I'm 100% sure they're going for an aesthetic over like any kind of realism. And that's true of the whole movie. The whole movie was just absolutely stylized
Hmm.
and beautifully shot
It really
and
was.
really, yeah, just really well done. I love all the weird camera tricks. You know, there are scenes where maybe a character will roll and the camera rolls with them. Just a lot of cool stuff like that, and a lot of interesting choices in terms of costume design, sets, you know, just the accessories and items that people have with them. Like Nyx is using a Glock, it looks like, that has a pink slide or
Hmm.
some kind of paint or whatever on it, but like it's customized. It
Yep.
almost reminded me of Fortnite because you
A
can get
little
these
bit.
weird customized
There,
weapons in there.
there was a very video game aspect to it on
Yeah.
certain scenes that I you could tell that was done purposefully. I really liked the style in which this director had doing this movie from the very beginning, from the outset. That very first scene, which just kind of grabs you. I'm like, oh, with the music, the way it's shot, all of it. I'm
Yeah.
thinking, I'm gonna like this. I'm gonna like this movie.
I laughed through so much of this movie. I was like, this is really gruesome. Should I be laughing? And then I couldn't help it. It was
Yeah,
like clearly made to be so ridiculous you have to laugh. Totally not for kids.
not
100%.
for
Like
kids.
even more not for kids than Invincible, I would say,
Yes.
because it's live action.
Yeah.
But it was really just so well done, and I felt like maybe this is kind of what Suicide Squad should have been, or maybe the next one should be, or if it's out, I don't even know.
I don't think it's out
I don't
yet.
even know what year it is anymore. It's like March 500th of 2020. I don't
That's
know.
oh my god.
But yeah, it's very colorful, just super cartoony and really fun. Like everybody in it is well characterized too. There are things that they would do. Like the cops have their own characteristics. They have little hints, like with the candies that the one cop is playing with.
Hmm.
You know, the main bad guy, the guy that's all tatted up, he has like
Richter, I believe is his
yeah,
name.
yeah, that's right. He has a certain set of behaviors. The music, very internet memey. Like,
Oh my god.
I
The
mean,
music
like,
was great.
but it starts off with that "You Spin Me Right Round," whatever that song's called, which was a meme way back in the day. There was a website you would trick your friends into going to, like back before. Yeah, I don't
Is
know.
that before getting rickrolled?
Oh yeah,
Okay. My
yeah.
daughter just relayed a story of that to me tonight. That a friend of hers, apparently on Discord, there's a pay version of Discord that you can get, like some sort of premium thing, whatever she called it, and her friend sent that to her, like a link for a free riot of Discord, and she clicked on it. She said she got rickrolled. She was
Ah.
so mad. I was like, "That's great. I like that friend of yours. That's a good friend. I like that friend."
But yeah, yeah. I don't know. It's just good. All of it's good.
It was there. Now, some of it I thought was fairly predictable. The things that you knew were going to happen, like, and here we're just going to be spoiling this. I'm not going to try and do ridiculously heavy, but there's going to be things we're going to talk about. So spoilers will abound. I believe we both enjoyed it. We'll get to that at the very end of this, but we're probably going to be spoiling some of it.
Yeah, it's on Amazon Prime. It's obviously going to be a watch from both of us. If you're an adult and you can handle this kind of thing, it's a little bit gruesome.
Yeah, but fun. Similar to, oh, I can never come up with the name of it. That early movie that I had us watch, Upgrade.
Mm,
Similar to that, yet not as serious. Not
right.
There's some parts of it are serious, but for most of it, it doesn't take itself seriously, nor should it. So, our main character, he's just this, typical computer loser guy who isn't super confident in anything. Apparently, he has this ex girlfriend that ends up becoming a thing throughout the course of this movie, and he's good at messing with trolls
Yeah,
and dealing with that. That's his thing.
he's a moderator. So he's like super into it.
Yeah,
And he goes
super into
looking
it.
for troll. He goes trolling for trolls on his
And
off time.
how this all starts and how he gets sucked into this world of schism is one night he's drinking, and I did notice the number of beer bottles at the end of that scene. It was a lot. Like either he drinks a lot or he would have been absolutely smashed by the time he was done doing that.
That's true. He's a little guy.
He's not a big dude. But I thought it was interesting. So he's online. He somehow comes across this schism thing, and it's a live stream of these death matches. That's what this is about. And he's doing this. He's messing with the people in the chat rooms on purpose, just to play devil's advocate and to give them garbage, just because that's kind of gets him off. That's what he does. That's how he has fun doing that. And I thought it was some of the things in this movie were commentaries on being how easy it is to talk crap to somebody anonymously through the internet. Yeah. Which people will do that. It's one of the reasons I am skeptical of letting my son, play Fortnite or any of those online games with headphones on. Because people absolutely will just say the vilest, crudest, nastiest stuff that they would never, ever say to you face to face.
Yeah.
Because it's anonymous and you can do whatever you want.
Yeah. I don't have a whole lot to add to that. You're right. It's very much kind of like a consequence thing. He's going on there just having fun. Like, everybody can do this, so I'm going to do this too. And it's like all he's doing. He's not there to watch anything. He's just there to antagonize people. And yeah, the consequences actually catch up to him this time. And I don't want to say this movie is like a social commentary, but you're a little bit right that like people will say anything because you don't have that feedback. Like you and I, we're recording remotely, but we can see each other through our cameras right now.
Yeah.
If I said something really mean and hurtful to you,
I'd cry.
It's just a normal human thing that you'd probably have a look on your face and I'd be like, ooh, I don't like the way that made him look. I'm not going to say that again. I feel bad about that. But when you're just typing shit online,
yeah,
you don't have that feedback.
That's a skill that you're supposed to learn as a child. Yeah. But when you say things and there's a reaction from the other person, that your brain connects those things and there's this understanding that begins to grow with that. Another part of that was a little bit of social commentary is when he's forced to go outside originally after he gets. What happens to him in this movie is guns are bolted onto his hands. In case you don't know what this is all about, the schism, the whole thing, the schism comes to his house. They knock him out, which I appreciated when the guy went to punch him and knock him out. He hits him, and it's just he didn't like knock him out in one, and he hits him again. He's like, oh, that usually works. And some girl has to like dart him in the neck. I liked how that was a low key way of showing this guy's tougher than you would expect.
I thought it was just a way of showing like the Batman cartoons you watched as a kid were wrong. You don't hit somebody once and they stay knocked out for like an hour.
Okay. I mean there's that too.
Yeah.
But with the guy saying, oh, that normally works. Yeah. Because as you see later in the movie with that particular character, he's kind of a badass. Like he knows his way around violence. So he knows how to hit somebody. And I thought my takeaway from that was that it's showing that this kid who wouldn't think that of himself. Well, some people can take a punch, and that's a thing. Being able to take some shots and let somebody wear themselves down by being tough, and then you can start to strike back, boxers and things like that, and MMA. That's a thing, and I like the way that they did that. But yeah, they knock him out, bolt guns to his hands, and now he's stuck that way. And the beginning part of that, as that gets rolling, him trying to deal with trying to do basic things.
Yeah, with
mess with his phone, go take a piss, and do everything without, with dealing with that was really well done. What did I... As he's doing the scene where we talked about, and he's taking a piss, it was so good. And he's trying to do this, and he's like, his phone starts ringing, and eventually he's like, I wrote it down. Doesn't matter. Just don't shoot yourself in the dick.
Yep. Because one of the first things he does when he wakes up is he accidentally shoots the wall.
Yes.
Like immediately accidentally shoots the wall, and he's got this ammo counter. And the one thing that I predicted all the way through it was the last shot was going to be meant for the last guy, although it didn't end up working. Like the fact that they're counting down the whole time how many shots he's made, how, what the count is for each gun, righty and lefty.
Yep. That was great, righty and lefty.
I knew that was going to come into play, but I liked the way it works. See, I felt like not a lot of it was that predictable. I knew from having seen that image, like he's going to piss some people off and get thrown into this game, and they're going to put him up against this Nyx person. Like that's going to be the thing. They've set her up to be a complete badass twice. She took out 3 guys in the first scene with this car, and then she like busted into this. I don't even know what it was supposed to be. Some kind of hangout.
Right, a building, just a building.
Just
I
took
wanted to say
everybody
a warehouse, but it really wasn't a warehouse. That scene where this is Nyx was so good.
Yeah.
It had the video game aspect. It had her being a badass, but in ways that weren't entirely unbelievable. As I think some of the later stuff might have been a little bit unbelievable.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's all pretty out there for the universe that this movie is setting up. Yeah, you're right. It's a little
she's
bit
doing
more
jumpy, flippy, spinny shit and shooting people. And it was the song they played. They played Ballroom Blitz, but it was a version of it I'd never heard. Apparently done by a band called The Sweet. It was great. It was so good. I really, really enjoyed that scene and how it set her up or reinforced what they already showed from the first scene with her in the opening part of the movie.
Yeah, like she's not a one-trick pony. She's not like a driver or whatever. She can handle herself too. Yeah, and I like, at first it kind of bothered me a little bit that he's just managing to get away after she's taken everybody down so easily. And then I was kind of concerned, like, where is she getting these weapons? Why does she have a different set of what? Like, why is he running as fast as he can away? And then she comes walking up with an RPG or whatever else. Like, where is she getting these weapons? And then I learned to just stop caring about it.
No, they actually showed that. When she took out all those guys in that scene, she looked through all their shit and started taking stuff. Oh. She jumped out the window with like a duffel bag full of their crap.
Yeah, but when she first shows up to Miles' apartment, she doesn't have that stuff. So did she like go back to her car, I guess, to get it?
Oh, yeah.
That's what I mean. Is she's fairly small. She's not wearing like, Neo's coat from the Matrix where he like has an entire arsenal under there. It was my only real gripe. It's like, well, where does she have all? And then it's like, nope, you're not supposed to think about any of that stuff. Nope. Like this is completely ridiculous.
Yeah, that scene you talked about when he accidentally shoots the gun, and then he immediately has this reaction because he's never been around a gun, a real live gun that shot. And he's like, "Oh my god, that was so loud!" And I like it when movies are self-aware like that.
Yeah,
it actually show us things that most people, if you're not a gun person, we happen to be gun people. We like to go to the range. We have guns.
But that was my real first reaction. The very first time I ever shot a gun, I was on a farm, and I didn't have ear protection on or anything. I didn't know any different. They were just like, "Here, try that." Like I was being safe, but it was still like when it went off, I was like, "Holy, what the? Is it supposed to be that loud?"
I was the same way. We tried to find me and some buddies tried to find some unmanned range they knew about to go shoot. And wherever it was closed down, whatever. And my buddy was like, "Hey, I know a guy who lives right around the corner." And so we drove out in the country somewhere to this guy's house, and he had a metal pie plate tied up way out back of his house. And that's what we were shooting at, but I didn't have ear protection. And guns are loud.
Real loud.
Whether it's a big 44 Magnum or a 22. They're just loud.
That being said, I'm 100% sure they could be quieter, but they're easier to track when they're loud. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's much easier for cops to hear them when they're loud.
That's fair.
I'm positive of that. It's like, there's no way we can make stuff like just all the tech we have. It's like, we can't make these like less than like obliterate your hearing loud.
I mean, you have suppressors and things like that, but they don't actually work the way they work in movies. It's not like puff, 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 puff. No, it's quieter than it would be, but it's still semi-loud.
It sounds like it sounds in a movie at that point.
Yes.
It's loud, but not like you just hear that in your ears, like from
Right.
just being
Like
so
Archer, and he always has somebody shoots the gun next to his head. He always has tinnitus because he can't ever hear. For those who haven't seen the cartoon Archer, I highly recommend it. It's fantastic.
So, I really don't have any complaints about the movie. Actually, I was gonna try to get into negatives and positives. So I guess I'll just go into positives then. I mean, the only negatives really are just that it's completely unrealistic, which is the point of the movie. So it's not really a negative. I like.
No, I can give you a negative.
Okay, go on.
When there was the second car chase scene with Miles and her, he like gets the woman out of the car and he's trying to drive this car with his gun hands, and she takes the motorcycle and then she drives the motorcycle on top of his car. I was like, that was like, okay.
Yeah.
Even I'm like, it didn't look great, number one. And it just, I wasn't feeling it. I felt a lot of this movie, almost all of it, with the possible exception of that one part of that one scene. It just, I didn't dig it. It wasn't, it wasn't well done.
I even liked that a minute later, he hit a BMW head on and flew out of the windshield, and he crawled out of the BMW after that.
Yeah, out of his windshield, apparently into the BMW's windshield. Hey, I told you, they harken back to him getting punched. It shows he's tough. Yeah. It was setting that up.
Yeah, but it's funny. Like, it does a good job of being funny. I laughed a lot during this, like a lot more than I thought I would, given how gory it is. And I felt a little bit guilty because it's so, but it's just so extreme. You can't take it seriously, and it's really funny. You know, Richter is really funny. Like, he's a good bad guy, but he's a likable bad guy in that he's fun to watch. You know, in a comedic way, as opposed to the way Tywin Lannister was in Game of Thrones. He was a really good bad guy because he was really bad and he was really serious.
Ruthless and calculating.
He was super interesting to watch. Anytime he was on screen, he was fantastic. This Richter is similar, but it's like if that character was funny. Like, he's super funny and he's aware of how he is.
That scene when he starts killing that guy who's like running all the cameras and trying to direct it, and he's like, "Get the camera." And they're like, "Well, which way? Do I swipe this way? What do I do? Put the camera on." Oh my gosh. It was. So much of the things they did in this movie, the decisions were just so fun. So fun. I liked so much of it. The homeless guy.
I was about to say he was my favorite character. That was going to be my first positive, like that. And he had a New Zealand accent or something like that. For whatever reason, they were clearly in the U.S. They showed an American flag, but I don't think they said what city they were in. But yeah, there's this random New Zealander in
homeless guy.
Such a strange outfit, and he's just like, you know, don't shoot yourself like that. You know, you'll miss your brain and you'll be even more depressed or whatever. And he's like,
half your side of your face off.
He's like giving him food. He's like, "Oh, what's in that meat?" He goes, "I don't know, but it's been here 8 months, so I'm glad to get rid of it."
He was so good. Oh my gosh.
And then it shows him watching it later, but he's not actually watching. He's just staring at a broken, like, old portable TV.
Oh my gosh. It was so good.
And it ends with, you know, as a wise man told me, and then starts playing the song that he had referred to. Dude, and that was good advice. It was like good everything advice. That guy said, that guy could be the next Dr. Phil. He could be Hobo Kiwi Dr. Phil.
Oh my gosh. So good. Okay. There was, based on what I have written down, there was one more thing that bugged me. One more criticism I go. It's still, you can go with disbelief if you want to, and you just want to buy into it, whatever. But something that I thought bothered me was, and you've seen this in movies. This is not the first time you've seen this happen. But when she's in the junkyard, I guess, is where Miles runs into this drug deal or something that's going on with these two gangs. And she's standing on top of this stack of cars or something with a minigun. She can't weigh more than $130. Like, for real. Anytime we've ever seen anybody in any movie wielding a minigun, like themselves, we're talking huge.
We're talking like a BioShock Big Daddy size person. Like massive.
You've got Arnold's done it. You've got Jesse Ventura did it in Predator.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking massive men to do this. I don't think I could wield a minigun.
I don't know. I've never seen one in person. I have no clue. So I just let it go.
I
I mean,
I
it's like
saw
we've
that
talked
in
about.
it.
A lot of it relies on the fact that most people don't know what they're really like.
Yeah.
What I thought was ridiculous was that none of them shot back at her. Right?
I mean,
From every video game I've ever played, I'm assuming this is true since all of them do it. A minigun takes a second to spin up.
it's true.
Once they saw, I mean, she called attention to herself. She was like, "Hey, thrift shop leather daddy." I think that was what she called the guy, which is a great
Yeah.
band name, by the way.
Oh, it is. That's okay. Good band name.
But she calls attention to herself and then gives a little speech like, "Hey, nobody gets to kill this guy but me," and then starts to mow them down. Like there was more than enough time for all of them to get at least one shot off. But they just waited politely because it's not their movie.
It's not their movie, and they knew it. I mean, you could say you brought it up when they showed her in the first scene and then her in the second scene where she just lays waste to like 20 dudes. Like absolutely mows them down. Like almost like John Wick style. Like really goes to town on these fools. The fact that she can't hit Miles in all the scenes, there's like a half hour of the movie is her trying to kill him. And he did some clever things in his apartment when she first shows up to kill him. And he hits his remote, which turns on the TV, and like some gunfire pops up on the screen. And she turns to that for just a second so he can dive out the window onto the fire escape and go down. He did some clever things. I liked it. I liked some of the decisions he made.
I think some of that was supposed to be her being hesitant because he's not into it. He's not like trying to hurt her. That's kind of what I thought. She's like taking it a little bit easy on him because she's even saying like, "Well, I have to do this. Let's just get it over with. Like, do what you got to do. Like, use the bathroom." That whole scene where she's like, "It's like a poop pinata." But yeah, she's like, "This is just a job. I don't care," you know. And he wasn't trying to go after her for the most part. And he had a chance to kill her multiple times and didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at any point in the car scene when she was on the hood of his car, he could have just reached up, done it. Yeah. You know, when she was like on the ground, not that far away from him, he could have done it. When she was distracted by that fire in whatever that warehouse was, he could have done it. But he just didn't. He didn't want to. He didn't want to be that kind of person.
Yeah, it just he talked about, you know, being more of a pacifist kind of guy. Like when he's with the homeless guy and he's got that hot dog, he's like, "Do you have any vegetarian options?" He's like, "Just so you know, most people on the planet just eat whatever they can get. Like whatever they can get their hands on. Like they just, you know, try and stay alive. That's all they're trying to do."
Yeah.
Being all picky. There was some of the things that happened, as I said, I thought were predictable. Like from the very outset, I'm like, well, these two are going to hook up and go after the bad guys at the end together. But some of the things that happened, how that happened, and some of the things that happened during it, after it, I was surprised by.
Yeah, I kind of figured they would team up, but I thought they were going to be love interests to each other. I thought it was going to be something where, I don't know, either he helps her become more normal or she turns him into like a male version of her. But
yeah,
it didn't happen. And I, you know, it was, well, he's going to end up with one of them, Nova or her. So which one's it going to be? And it was neither. And I was so happy with that. I love that at the end they do a fake out. He's like, "Yeah, I didn't get the girl. Like the rest of that happened, but I didn't get the girl because when all the shit happens in front of your ex, she gets PTSD. She doesn't fall in love with you."
That was a turn that I didn't expect it to take. I really enjoyed, as I said, some of the decisions that they made with where they went with this. And one of the things that I hoped was going to happen as far as the end of the movie, like you said, with the guns counting down the number of shots, he had 50 in each gun, and righty and lefty, all that was great. And I hoped it wasn't just going to be, you know, he's got the one bullet left and he just takes that guy out with one bullet. My thought the whole time was, what the way it happened, that's exactly what I wanted to happen. Yeah. And I thought about that. I'm like, I hope this happens. And it exactly happened the way I hoped it would. It was great. But then, like you said, it doesn't give her his girlfriend, who, even though she was kidnapped by this guy, threatened her life, and your ex-boyfriend's coming to save you, and, you know, he's taking out the bad guy, doesn't give you a raging lady boner. It gives you PTSD, and that's how that works. And some of the stuff, the situation between Nix and the cop, and how all that played into it. As we said, this is a self-aware, fairly comedic, you know, unrealistic movie, but there were some serious moments in it too. that were interjected in a really thoughtful and well done way. I really appreciated how they did it, and it surprised me. And the
Yeah.
ending, the very ending with him, I know it's one of those could be set up for a sequel kind of things. We're not going to get a sequel from it, I don't believe, and I don't want one.
I don't
It's
want one either.
absolutely perfect the way it ended.
Yeah, it's a perfect. It could be an origin story for kind of a John Wick type,
Right?
but I want to just leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
Just he learned to do his thing here. He's going to apply it now. I like the way they left it a lot.
I like the way his, and this goes back to much earlier in the movie, but his bully boss at his job, this little app, he works at this company that does this one stupid app that basically lets kids steal money from their parents,
It's basically
credit cards.
Fortnite. I mean, I know it's like a mobile game or something, but it's basically one of those where you let your kid buy like a skin for their whatever, or they buy like a special cosmetic pack or some kind of pass, and then the credit card or PayPal gets linked to it forever, and they end up getting charged like $100 a month for all the shit the kids doing. Like that's 100% what it is. But is, I'm sure, the business model on purpose of a lot of these apps. Like that's pretty real.
I'm sure it is too. I really liked how that all played out. It's not, again, nothing that was necessarily surprising with that, in the fact that, guy who he wants to keep his job. He's not a big guy, this big boss. He's like, a big bully type. Obviously he works out, not hardcore. He's not like an Arnold Schwarzenegger or anything.
No, but he's walking around with protein shakes all the time.
Right. Absolutely. And, doing that, and how it played out, you wanted him to stand up for himself, but how that scene played out, that was great.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really liked it.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked that he got his moment.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't even want to say anything more about it. There's so much that happens in this movie. I quit taking notes. I took a few to start with, like, where did she get the weapons? That hood's down over her eyes. Some of the lines, like, I like the tattoo that was on her, like, her throat.
Mm-hmm.
I rewound it and paused it to read it. And it says, if you can see this, you're too close. But it's the wrong you're. It's you're, like, possessive, not you are. Yeah. Yeah, it was just another little thing that was a little bit more real, but it wasn't like the damaged tattoo on the forehead for the Jared Leto Joker or anything like that. Like, it wasn't so on the nose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I paused a couple times for some of the comments. They would just pop up on screen because of everything that's going on. And we never really mentioned this, but everything that's going on with him and Nyx and the running around, it's all being filmed.
Yeah, and
there's
streamed
drones
online,
flying around, and it's being broadcast by this schism. And so there's comments that will somehow pop up on like the screen, and it's just up there for a second. So if you don't pause it, you're not going to get to read them. But some of those were great. This was a well thought out, interesting, unique movie, and I liked pretty much all of it. A couple of the minor things that I said, but those are super minor. Nothing to tell me, or to have me tell you all, don't watch this because blah, blah. No, it's great. Absolutely great.
It is, yeah, I agree. And I don't think there's much more to say, really. It had me laughing through the whole thing. I'm really glad nobody else was home, because it must have sounded like a war zone. And just, I don't know what I sounded like watching it and just cackling like a maniac the entire time. Oh my gosh.
The scene that made me laugh out loud, like really laugh first, was when he meets up with his ex-girlfriend and he jumps in her car and he's like, all right, I got something. You got promise not to freak out. And he pulls out the guns, and then she maces him in the car.
Immediately. Twice.
Immediately. Like, no hesitation. She's, first of all, if you do that in the car, you're getting some of it too.
Yeah, and you probably just got to get rid of the car.
I mean, maybe.
And he's not jumping into a clothesbin and getting over it. Anyway, that was another one of those little unrealistic things. Like, you just don't get over being maced that quickly.
Oh no, your eyes are jacked for
a couple days.
But
man, it is so good. I'm so pleased with it. I'm glad you did. This was a good recommendation. You've redeemed yourself.
Thank God. I needed to. Oh my gosh. I've had some clunkers. It's okay. I will say, my girlfriend did mention something. She happened to come home after taking my daughter to her volleyball practice, and she sat down and kind of watched the end of the movie with me. And something that she mentioned that I thought was a unique take, because some of this music at the end, we're talking this old school, like I think it was Cypress Hill that they were playing.
Yeah, I think so.
She mentioned that it was popularized recently, I mean fairly recently at this point, by Guardians of the Galaxy. These retro soundtracks in movies, and a lot of movies have been doing that.
Yeah.
Now, as I've said, I wrote it down a couple times in my notes. I love the music in this. I thought it was really well done. I don't personally care that it did that, but to be fair, she's right. Like it's a easy thing for them to fall back and do, but and there's plenty of music that's probably more current that you could use, but man, I really enjoyed some of the reasons that they chose them. The songs that they chose, I think, worked really well with the aesthetic of the movie.
Yeah, I do too. I think, and they reused a couple songs to kind of call you back to an earlier scene or another theme. Yeah, I think it was, like I said, it was very well put together. It's kind of the thing that I wanted from Killers Anonymous. You know, that movie was equally as well shot, equally as well casted, and they just dropped the ball. This one was so good all the way through and so consistent, and it was fast paced and it seemed hectic. Like there are certain movies that are kind of a little bit slower and methodical and wonderful because of that. Like Lucky Number 11 is that way. I was kind of thinking about how different these two are because I love this movie. But, you know, one seems purposely paced and methodical, and then the other is chaotic and all over the place, but it's so perfectly planned.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Candies, the one cop who turns out to be corrupt is like playing with them on the desk, and then at the scene where he dies, they're all over the floor. You know, little callbacks like that. It was just really well thought out. Really good. I mean, for as dumb of a concept as it was,
Oh my god,
they
so
did it
dumb of a
really,
concept.
really well. They did it really well. I'm really happy with it. So that's all I've got. I fully recommend watching it if you are an adult. Don't let your kids be nearby. I don't think that anybody would really be like influenced to try something like this in real life, but it's definitely an adult movie, and it seems like Amazon's kind of pushing the envelope with some of this stuff.
Yeah,
and what they're willing to host or do. If this was one of their originals, I don't really know.
I don't think it was. I don't think it's a Prime original, but this was. It is. It's a movie that's thankfully not just rehashing stuff we've already seen, and fun. I'm really glad Daniel Radcliffe picked this up and did this.
Yeah,
I think he's had some really interesting choices, and he's trying to do it, like you said, to not be typecast. And I can't wait to see him in more stuff. I didn't see Swiss Army Man. I really wanted to. It looked super unique. Again, a unique movie that's just kind of batshit crazy.
Yep, that's pretty. Yeah, well, there we go. We got a mini review in. You got it
right. This movie was written and directed by Jason Lee Howden. I don't know what else he's done, but I will make a point to look for his name again because I really enjoyed this. I think based on us doing this more often, besides the major directors, the Lucases, the Scorseses, the Spielbergs, I never really paid a whole lot of attention to directors. I need to start doing that. I hear some of the other, our YouTube movie reviewers, Stuckman, things like that, who were talking about, well, this movie was directed by such and such, and I really like these other movies that they did, and I need to start paying more attention to that because I really liked what this guy did in this movie, and I look forward to seeing what they might do with something else.
Right. Directors seem to have a similar creative style or direction, so I agree.
All right, so I mean, comes down to it again. I think we already stated in the beginning, but this is entirely a watch for me. If you're into crazy, it's violent, it's fun, it's funny, you got to watch this. So good.
There's something for everybody.
Got that right.
All right.
Oh, well, I'm okay. If you're like a 13, there's no nudity. So if you're a 13-year-old boy,
there's
no boobs. Sorry, guys. Sorry, little boys. Okay. But otherwise,
there's no boobs. There is some nudity.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
There's the bathroom scene.
There's the bathroom scene.
Okay. One more thing. I did like that they showed people on the toilet using their phones. That seemed real. You know what I mean? Like, that's
Yes.
something they don't do in a lot of movies. That was real. Anyway, that being said, Twitter, Movie Howl, Man Panda, email, moviehowl@gmail.com. Nobody's going to use those. Got them out of the way. All right. Take it away, Joe. Give us an outro.
I'll do my best. Folks, Howligans, I hope you enjoyed it once again. This movie was super enjoyable for us to watch. I'm glad that we did. We got a chance to talk about it and review it. And if you have any movies that you want us to review that you think are unique, that isn't out there in the mainstream, that you're like, everybody should watch this movie because it was super good and nobody's talking about it, well, hit us up. Tell us. We'll watch it. I promise. I swear to you. You hit us up with something. Watch this. We'll watch it. Absolutely.
Even if it's your movie, promote your own movie. It's fine.
Yep.
I mean,
do it.
Yeah. Go ahead. Do it. Why not? Nobody's gonna do it.
You already said it, so now you got to go with it. It's too late. That might come back to bite us. I don't know why you did that, but that's cool. Folks, this has been great. I've been Joe.
I've been Ryan.
And we are out.